The college basketball experience, Southern Conference, a.k.a. the SOCON 24-25 season preview on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Use our sign-up code TCESGPN to claim your special pick up to 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. That is the Underdog Fantasy promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football and NFL today. Get Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. Welcome, everybody, into the college basketball experience, SOCON style. A little adversity over here. You know, the Wi-Fi's out, but, you know, you always got to have a backup plan. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched right in the fucking face. I got punched in the face. Wi-Fi's been out the last couple hours. But
your Wi-Fi's out.
We got 3
Mine
previews
always
to go.
sucks. So this is going to be a great show.
Hey, my plan B is better than your plan A. My connection somehow is still better than yours.
Well, you have a hotspot.
Went to the old hotspot. Yeah. But anyway, I could have missed the SOCON. I love this league. I had multiple coaches on in this league. It's right down the road for me in the Carolinas. And just what a great basketball league. One of the best conference tournaments. Year in and year out, it seems like it ends on a half-court shot, buzzer beater. No 20-point lead is safe, as we see year in and year out. They've had success in the NCAA tournament. We've seen coaches go from this league to the high major. You see it all. I mean, this is just a great, great league, and that's why we left it to one of our final leagues that we're previewing. First off, let's introduce ourselves, Noah. I think my name is Moneyline Mac, a.k.a. the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin. Also known as Mac Tonight over here at the College Experience. And this guy loves some SOCON hoops, even if his Wi-Fi could be a little touch and go. But hey, this guy is the window banging, drywall hanging, LeBaron driving, cocktail napkin having Noah Bieniek, a.k.a. Noah B77. What's up, man?
Mac, what's going on? Yeah, the SOCON easily every single year. One of my top 3 favorite mid-major leagues, and the only 2 like high major leagues that I claim is like the Big Ten, Big East too. So like SOCON is watched in my household so much. Absolutely love the SOCON. There's mayhem all over the place. You know, there's even some nice mini rivalries in this league that have been great. Some mini, just like rally cry terms like Bucky Ball that is taken the world by storm the last couple of years. Just tremendous. Speaking of Bucky Ball, last year they swept this conference. Not only did they go 15-3 in league play, win the league in the regular season, but they also won the SOCON conference tournament, and they represented the conference in the NCAA tournament, and they honestly should have won in the NCAA tournament game. They had a block called a foul, and then Kansas went to the free throw line and was able to ice the game. It was, I don't know if I should call it they should have won a game, but they got screwed out of being in tight contention in the final minute of the game. Then they were kind of forced into, I think, fouling the next possession, which created a 4-point loss. But yeah, Samford was right there against Kansas. And this league is so much fun. Mac, anything else that you want to touch on from last year that you want to mention before we get into team by team previews here in alphabetical order?
The only thing I would add, Noah, so Samford was on the fringe, but all you got to do is go a year before that. Furman, the famous upset
Yeah.
win over Virginia. The year before that, I mean, Chattanooga takes Illinois right down to the wire. So, like, and then we've seen Eastern Tennessee State over the years. Sorry, East Tennessee State. I said Eastern. ETSU over the years have really, really good teams that have competed and
They'll be good
almost
again.
won it. Yep. Greensboro has been right there to win tournament games. Wofford won games with Mike Young. They almost beat Kentucky to get to the Sweet 16 in the last,
They'll be good again.
years. Mercer beat Duke once upon a time in the 2010. So
Crazy.
I just ran through 60 to 70% of the league that has either won a tournament game or been right there to win the tournament game. So whoever comes out of this league will be that pain in the ass 12, 13 seed that every 4 and 5 high majors going, oh, fuck, we got to play somebody from the SOCON that we know is going to be well coached and has a good roster.
Great points. I love it. And before we get started with this thing, help us out real quick. Go over on YouTube, the College Experience SGPN, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel. We're just 30 subscribers away from 12K here, opening night tip off, just days away. And if you're listening on podcast platforms, take the couple of seconds and leave us a 5-star rating on Spotify. It helps us out tremendous on that algorithm, and also Apple Podcasts, whatever podcast platform you're listening to. Rate, review, leave a like, subscribe, because only you guys can help us prevent corporate gambling from taking over. Mac, let's get into this thing. So the SOCON Southern Conference, the basketball preview begins in alphabetical order. Team preview wise, Chattanooga, the Mocs, last year, 21-12. They were 12-6 in the conference, tied for second in the SOCON. And head coach Dan Earl has a tremendous guard duo returning the Nuga in Honoruff and Trey Bonham, who we'll touch on in a second. They do lose a couple of impact players. Jan Zadek played 21.5 minutes last season, 12 points, 3.5 boards. He's out of eligibility alongside Tyler Millen, who played 23 minutes, averaged 8 and 4.5. Sam Alexis hit the transfer portal, averaging 11 and 9 in 26.5 minutes. That's a big blow. Randy Brady played 21 minutes. Miles Shea played 19.5 minutes. Adam Larson played 20 minutes. Demetrius Davis played 16 minutes. Rudy Fitzgibbons, Ashton Smith, they all hit the transfer portal. But like I said, Honor Huff and Trey Bonham, one of the best guard duos in mid-major basketball, honestly. 5'10", Honor Huff, the point guard, 2.5 assists per game, 34.5 minutes per game, 17.5 points per game, 2.5 boards, shot at 38% from three, 43.5% from the field. And Trey Bonham, a 6-foot senior guard, played 31 minutes last season, 16 points, 5 boards, 3.5 assists. Both of these guys, great defenders, almost 2 steals a game each. Bonham was a 48.5% from the field, 41.5% 3-point shooter. Both of them excellent. They surround these guys with long, lanky wings and forwards, which was a tremendous job from Dan Earl in the transfer portal. Bash Veland is a 6'6" grad senior wing coming in from Bellarmine, and we all know how their offense kind of works. So he's going to be a willing passer. Played 32 minutes for Bellarmine last season. 14 points, 5.5 boards, 2 assists last season. Frank Champion comes in from D2 North Georgia, 17.5 points per game, 7.5 boards, 4.5 assists, over a steal per game, 1 block per game as a 6'7" forward. We'll see how that translates into the SOCON from the D2 ranks, but he's a nice piece. They bring in 6'10" Mekhi Richards, a redshirt junior from Pacific, who only played 14 minutes last season. He's going to be a huge piece to this because he's honestly like the only true rim protector that I see on this roster when it comes to like the D1 level. So I think he's not going to make much of an impact offensively, but defensively, he's like a gigantic piece to this team and cog to the machine. Garrison Kiesler comes in from D2 Walsh College in my neck of the woods. He's a 6'7" senior wing, 36 minutes last season, 15.5 points, 6.5 boards, 5 assists, 1.5 steals per game, shot at 30.5% from deep. Also, Jack Coastal from D2, Alabama Huntsville. My uncle played hockey for them, actually. 32 minutes a game, 13.5 points, 5 boards, 4 assists, 1.5 steals. Chattanooga is a very solid roster. I can 100% see kind of the outline and the mapping that they did in creating this roster. The only question I should say I have is rim protection defensively, but offensively, this team's going to go, Mac.
Yeah, you mentioned it. The veteran guards coming back, and Dan Earl. It's only his third year at Chattanooga, but what he was able to do at a hard job like VMI, B500, the last 2 years in league play, turned VMI into a middle of the pack SOCON team is almost as impressive as if he won the regular season outright at Chattanooga, in my opinion, with how hard a job VMI is. So I know he had Jake Stevens. I know he brought him over, but the year after Jake Stevens goes, he makes a jump, 12-6 last year. This is easy. This is a top 4 team, maybe a top 3 team in this league that's going to be right there in contention to win the regular season. Dan Earl's a good coach, and I'm looking forward to watching the Mocs this year.
Pardon me, I'm just writing down the preseason media poll because I forgot to do that previous to the show. Of course, this doesn't really even matter for my rankings that we do at the end of the show, but just totally forgot to do it, and I was taking advantage while you were talking. So, but yeah, Earl, tremendous coach, and like you said previously at VMI, this team is going to love to shoot the 3 ball this season. I think it's going to be one of the better offenses that we see here in the SOCON. The next up for us alphabetically is the other team in Tennessee, the East Tennessee State Buccaneers. And this is another really interesting team that's, they can jump up every 1 or 2 years and really compete in the SOCON. And this year, I think that's going to be one of those seasons. Last year, they finished tied for 7th in this league, 8-10 in conference, 19-16 overall. But this year, they have the 3rd most experienced roster via Torvik, and they returned 66.5% of their minutes from last year, which is the 2nd most in the SOCON. And East Tennessee State with the Bucks or the Buccaneers, they are losing Jaden Parker, who played 26.5 minutes last season, 7.5 points per game, 6.5 boards. Justice Smith played 14 minutes. Tyler Rice played 10.5 minutes. Ebi Asamoah was the one big piece. They lose 30.5 minutes last season, 15.5 points, 4 boards. He's out of eligibility. And the other guys transferred out. But yeah, everybody outside of him are returning to this team. Kamari Peterson, last year's point guard, 3.5 assists, 4.5 boards, 13.5 points in 32 minutes. He's now a senior 6'1" point guard. And then they're going to surround him with, coming in from the transfer portal, John Buggs III from North Texas. Shot at 45% from 3, 44.5% from the field. He's a grad senior, 6'3" guard, 29 minutes per game last season. Karan Boyd is a 6'5" junior guard. Played 30.5 minutes last season, averaged 6.5 and 6.5 with over an assist per game. Jaden Seymour is a 6'8" senior forward, played 31 minutes last season, 14.5 points, 6 boards, over a steal per game as well. And Davion Bradford comes in from New Mexico State. Kurt Lewis comes in from Missouri. Both of them are senior transfers into the front court. Alan Struthers returns after playing 18.5 minutes last season. And Roosevelt Wheeler, hell of a name there, comes in from VCU via the transfer portal. Mac, I believe we're big fans, at least you might be a big fan of Brooks Savage at ETSU. What are your thoughts on his roster here?
Dude, I love this roster, and yeah, I had Brooks Savage on a part of the tour earlier this summer. I think he was on in June or July. I'd have to go back and look, but he's ecstatic about the returning production on this team. They bring back 67% of their minutes. They're right there in terms of experience in this league. Savage, he knows what it takes to win in this league. He was with Steve Forbes at ETSU the first time around, 2015 to 2020. He's seen the really good teams there. He's won. He's been a part of teams that have won or got to the NCAA tournament and won games. At Wake Forest, he followed him, and then he came back to be the head man at ETSU. I think that you started seeing them take on the identity of him in February when they won 6 out of 7 down the stretch before taking Samford to the wire in the championship game. I mean, this team got better and better. You know, I talk about culture and tradition. ETSU is one of the winning pedigrees in this league, and Savage is the right guy to get this team back to the dance. So I got ETSU right at the top as well. We started with 2 good ones in Chattanooga and ETSU. I think I may lean a little bit more to ETSU over Chattanooga, but they're both going to be really good. And I think Savage continues the momentum at the end of last year into year number 2.
Mac, they're all good ones in the SOCON, and we'll get to more of them right after this break. We'll get to more of them right after this break, because Underdog Fantasy, their pick'em right now has one of the biggest menus in all of sports betting and fantasy. NFL, college football, MLB, MMA, NBA, NHL, NASCAR, and college basketball when this season starts, which is right around the corner. Boosttober right now is upon us, which means that you're getting a spooky amount of profit boosts and so much more. And you can use those on all flex entries. So go over there, sign up today with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick, plus first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. Mac, we're back on the college basketball experience, previewing the SOCON for the 2024-25 season. Next up for us, we're going in alphabetical order here, previewing all the teams. The Furman Paladins. Literally, Mac, you talked about it was started with a bang. None of these teams pull punches. Yeah, none of these teams pull punches. Furman last year tied for 5th in the conference, 10-8. 17-16 overall. Furman, one of the only programs that return, only 3 programs that return more than 50% of their minutes last season. It was a little bit of a dip, but for Bob Richey, I mean, this program just most of the time remains steady, and that was honestly one of their weaker years, and they were still above 500 this year. I would expect them to be, competing for a title once again in the SOCON. They do lose JP Pegues to Auburn. He transfers out after putting up 18.5 points, 4.5 boards, 5 assists, over a steal per game. Marcus Foster goes to Xavier through the transfer portal, 31 minutes last season, 17 points per game, 7.5 boards, 2 assists, 1 steal per game. Carter Witt played 23.5 minutes last season, averaged 8, 3, and 3.5 over a steal per game. Alex Williams played 27 minutes. He's gone. Kaysen Collins hit the transfer portal as well. Coming in from the transfer portal, not too much, but Nick Anderson shot 101 3-pointers at D2 Barry University, shot at 42.5% there. He's a 6'3" graduate senior guard, 17.5 points per game, 2 assists, 2 boards. He's going to be alongside PJ Smith, who's going to be the assumed point guard, going to step into that Pegues role. And same with Marcus Foster. Those two were great in the backcourt last year. PJ Smith, 28.5 minutes last season, 10 points, 3.5 boards, 2 assists, over a steal per game. I mean, he's just going to kind of be a carbon copy of some of these most recent Furman guards. And then outside of that, Furman's going to play pretty big this season. Ben Vanderval, a junior 6'7" wing. Tyrese Hughey, 6'6" senior wing. And then Garrett Hine is a graduate senior at 6'9", playing the 5. Those 3 guys all played at least 16.5 minutes last season. Their roles are going to be significantly increased, and I would expect the production to as well. Davis Molnar returns after playing 12 minutes last season. Cooper Bowser also played 12 minutes. He's a 6'11" sophomore. I would expect him to play a little bit more in the front court this season as probably one of the true rim protectors on this team as well. One of the bigger guys. Same with Charles Johnston, the 6'11" transfer from D2 Cal State Monterey Bay. Tom House comes in from Florida State. Didn't play a whole lot last year, so we'll see what kind of role he has on this team. But Furman, Mac, they're going to be right there in the mix once again this season, correct?
Yep. Oh yeah. This is a next man up program. Bob Richey has been another really good coach in this league. Won 69% of his games, 72% in SOCON play. He got over the hump obviously 2 years ago. Got to the tournament, won a game. I think that those guards may have been a little bit too ball dominant, to be honest. I think it's more by committee this year. I think they get back to sharing the ball a little bit more, buying in as a team more than a couple of the guys that transferred up or graduated. So maybe a little bit flying under the radar for Furman this year. I think that they thrive back in that
It's
role.
not a bad place to not a bad place to be.
Yeah, I did. They're
Under
top
the
four.
radar.
They're top four. I'll go out and say they're top four.
Ooh,
They
okay.
yeah.
All right.
So I already got 3 out of my top 4 in the first three three teams. There's a couple other ones that are going to be really good as well, but I really like these first 3 that we previewed.
Yeah, top 4. I mean, 3 of your top 4 teams already. I would say of that mix, it's a little bold. I don't know if I have all 3 of them in the top 4. We'll get to maybe possibly the other 2 teams that I do have.
Like Sanford, Wofford, and Greensboro. Those are his other contenders.
What about Mercer? Mercer's next for us here in this show. 16-17 overall last season, 8-10 in conference, which was good for tied for 7th. Ryan Ritter is the new head coach here at Mercer. And according to BartTorvik.com, his Bears have the most experienced preseason roster here in the SOCON. It's a transfer portal squad. I mean, they bring in 10 guys from the portal. So, sit tight, grab something to drink, and take a hit, whatever. Ahmad Robinson comes in from New Hampshire, 4.5 assists per game, 4.5 boards, 15.5 points in 29.5 minutes. He's a 5'10 senior guard. And then they also bring in a trio of graduate senior wings and Tyler Johnson, 6'2", 31 minutes a game from D2 USC Aiken. 31 minutes a game, 16.5 points, 6.5 boards, 2 assists, 2 steals per game, shot at 39% from 3, 47% from the field. Cam Bryant, a 6'7", 23 minutes per game, 6 points, 4 boards from Georgia Southern. Laurinus Vestaris, coming in from Campbell, played 25.5 minutes last season for the Camels. 11 points per game, 4.5 boards, 3 assists, over a steal per game. The stats might be a little bit more inflated for him because Campbell does play through their big men. And speaking of big men, Mercer returns Alex Holt from last season, 18.5 points per game, shot at 65.5% from the field, 7.5 points, 4.5 boards. And Ja Quinones comes in, stays, I should say, 6 points per game, 4 boards, played 23.5 minutes last season. He'll play a little bit of a role on this year's team. Marcus Overstreet transfers in from USCB, a sophomore 6'9" forward, 25 minutes per game, 17.5 points, 11 boards. Jaze comes in from North Florida. He's a 6'4" junior, 15.5 minutes for the Ospreys last season, 8 points per game. Petrus Pedagimus comes in from Dayton. He's a sophomore, 6'8" forward. Angel Montas Jr. comes in from Fordham, played 12 minutes per game last season as well. Mac, your thoughts on Ryan Ritter entering year 1 in Mercer?
Another coaches tour coach that visited us this summer. I like Ritter a lot. He did a great job at Martin. I mean, they won the regular season at UT Martin last year. He won at Bethune-Cookman before that. And another junior college guy that has figured out a way to rise through the ranks. He's under 40. So, I mean, this guy I think is going to be a hell of a coach at Mercer. I think it's going to take a year. You mentioned all the changing pieces on this roster from the JUCO, from the transfers. So, but I think Ritter will get him better and better. And I think that they'll just get better throughout the year. And I think come February, March, maybe they could be like an ETSU where they finish between maybe just below that middle of the pack line. And then they're a pain in the ass to get them out in that SOCON tournament. Ritter, great hire for the long term, just with his track record of winning at Daytona State, Bethune-Cookman, and UT Martin. So looking forward to getting Mercer back good again, man. This is a good program too. They beat Duke just less than 15 years ago in a tournament game.
Yeah, this conference is great, dude.
Yeah.
I think there are 5 really good teams for this upcoming season. outside of that, Mercer falls a little bit below them. So just by the virtue of playing in a really strong conference, they're a bottom half team for me, but by no means does that mean that they're going to be a bad team, and they can definitely steal a couple of games at home. Mercer, not a pretty place that a lot of people want to go into every single midweek game or on a weekend. So, what are you going to say?
I was going to say, you know how always in this tournament, there's always that one non-chalk seed that's always in the semifinals. Maybe it's like Mercer in like the 6 or 7 seed where they got better every game under Ritter, and then Ritter hasn't played their best ball. I could see them being around just below 500 in league play, and then just being a pain in the ass.
Well, a team with this kind of build where it's a total transfer portal team, this is a team that you judge in November and December, then you kind of rate them alongside their other conference foes and how much your expectations should be, how you should handle the expectations on this team for the upcoming season, because this is another team that could be playing better ball the more and more time they take to gel together. Speaking of playing better ball, let's talk about the Samford Bulldogs. Yes, sir. Samford was a ton of fun last season. I don't know how else you can describe it other than Bucky ball, because it was just kind of everybody was bought into just kind of sharing a lot of roles, and they played so deep, like 9 or 10 guy rotation. I remember just a super fun culture, like at the beginning of the season when they had Purdue on the schedule. They were building up that they were going to have this 5'9" kid take the tip off against Zach Edey to begin the game, and that actually happened. They're like, this guy's going to win it, and it's just not quite, but just absolutely hilarious all the way around. They do lose a lot of the production from last year. No bigger impact player than Achor, who is Kansas State bound through the transfer portal, 16 points, 6 boards, 1.5 assists per game. But like I said, they played like 9 or 10 guys deep. They lose 7 of them. Jaden Campbell, 11.5 points per game, 3 boards. AJ Staten McRae played 21 minutes a game, 11.5 points, 4.5 boards. Dallas Graziani played 18.5 minutes a game. Jermaine Marshall played 18.5 minutes a game, 10.5 points, 5 boards, 1.5 assists. Nathan Johnson played 17 minutes a game. Garrett Hicks played 18.5 minutes a game. All of those guys played pretty big impacts in that team, as well as Zach Loveday, who hit the transfer portal, Chandler Leopard, who was out of eligibility. Just a tough hit to what was a really good culture last year, but I trust that Bucky is going to, have this thing in a good spot for once again this season. It might take a little bit of time, but, impressive that they were able to hit the transfer portal and bring in a couple of high major guys. Trey Fort was a guy that I saw in person, just money from 3 at the Barstool Invitational. He completely took over the game against Arizona State. He shot at 35% from deep last season. He only played 11 minutes a game, but he was like a true impact when he hit the floor in that one. And I'm not going to really kind of forget that performance. But on the season, 11 minutes per game, 5 points, 2 boards. He's a 6'4" senior wing, along with Isaiah West coming in from Vanderbilt, played 12 minutes a game. Colin Holloway comes in from Tulane, played 29 minutes, 13 points per game, 4.5 boards, 1.5 assists, shot at 50.5% from the field, 34% from 3. He's a 6'6" forward. Julian Brown comes in from Wagner, also an NCAA tournament team last year. He's a 6'1" junior guard, 31 minutes a game, 10 points, 3 boards, 2 assists. From UIC, Jaden Brownell is a 6'9" redshirt junior, played 14 minutes last season. From Utah Tech, Larry Olikina, who played 16 minutes a season ago. Brody Davis from D2 Birmingham Southern, who played 30.5 minutes, 10.5 points, 8 boards, 1.5 assists per game. They do return Rylan Jones, who played 26 minutes last season for Samford. He's a 5th-year guy, 6'1" point guard, averaged 5 assists last year, 9.5 points, 3 boards. He's going to be a huge part because he's honestly like the biggest impact player returning. They bring back Riley Allen Spock, a 6'11" 5 who played 12 minutes a game. They bring back Josh Holiday, who played 12.5 minutes, Lucas Walls, who played 9 minutes a game. But Ryland Jones is kind of going to be the do-it-all guy for Samford in a way that I don't think they had one last year. I can hear myself through your computer. I don't know what you just did. But Ryland Jones is going to be a big-time player. Shot at 37.5% from deep, 43.5% from the field. His volume is going to go up. Mac, what are you thinking about Bucky Ball in 2024-25?
Oh, I love Bucky Ball. Is my sound all right? I know I'm going through the connection right now, but yeah, I love Bucky Ball, and it was validating that they were able to have the year that they had, because they had some conference tournament heartbreak where the year before that they were 15-3. I don't think people realize it in the SOCON. Shared the regular season title. They had a winning record his second year, and then the first year was the crazy COVID year, so toss that out. To build the culture. My biggest thing with Samford that I'm worried about is they were really old last year and everybody bought in. And when you want to play the chaotic pace that Bucky Ball is, get up and down, press the shit out of you. Some guys take less minutes for the betterment of the team. How does a new group buy in? So I love Bucky Ball. I think that I'm interested to see how these new guys adapt in their new roles. But I mean, they're still top half of the league for me. I don't think they're going to be as good as last year, of course. So I mean, they lost too much proven production in this league, in my opinion.
Yeah, I do like the gambles that they bring in, but of course, like some high major guys that started their careers there, now they're taking a step down. They're thinking they're going to be more of a bigger impact, when really, I think if we see what we saw last year, it's more of you're getting 22, 25 minutes a game. They're playing in an 8-9 man rotation. You're not kind of getting the role that maybe some high major transfers down would think. So a little bit of question there on just kind of fit in the roster and whether Bucky's going to make it all work. But I believe that they're going to be a top half team here in the SOCON. You know what else I believe in? Rhythm, SGPN's proud partner. Rhythm, the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. You can build your own model or copy one of the top performing ones from the leaderboard, and Rhythm will give you predictions for every game and player prop, and also has a myriad of stats, research, and trend analysis to give you even more betting insights. Rhythm went 24-3 in their night one NBA props. Claim your 7-day free trial today, because that college basketball model is right around the corner over at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And we're also brought to you by BetUS. They're the best in the business. They've been around for more than 30 years, and you can easily deposit using cryptocurrency and get lightning fast payouts when you're looking to cash out. BetUS is live with their Trick or Treat on Horror Street promotion from now until Halloween. They're giving away daily promotions, and also you can enter their raffle, to win a sports or casino prize pack. They will be giving one away on October 31st, and you can enter this multiple times. With every $200 deposit, you get one entry. So go over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS, promo code SGPN, so they know we sent you. BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook. All right, Mac, we're home free here on the college basketball experience preview in the SOCON. Every team alphabetically gets one team preview, and then we're going to go at the end and rank all of these teams 1 through 10 with our sleepers, bus, tournament, conference tournament champion predictions. But the Citadel, the Bulldogs, are up next for us here in alphabetical order. They were 11-21 overall last season, 3-15 in conference, 9th in the SOCON, which was good for second to last. Mac, just by nature of kind of their military academy, this roster lacks a lot of D1 basketball experience. And they actually have quite a few newcomers into this program, whether it be from transfer portal or just a lot of freshmen under Ed Conroy. Coming in from D2 Montevallo. Cameron Glover, a 6-foot senior, played 32.5 minutes last season, 16 points per game, 3 boards, 3 assists, 1 steal, shot at 36.5% from 3. Look, I think he's probably going to be like the ball dominant player on this team when it comes to he's going to have the highest volume of shots. Every possession is going to go through Glover. Outside of that, I have a lot of questions. Colby McAllister, Keenan Davis, Christian Moore return, all probably expected to start. McAllister's a 6'5 junior. He only played 7.5 minutes last season. Keenan Davis is a 6'5 sophomore, played 25.5 minutes last season, only 6 points per game, 2 boards. And Christian Moore is a 6'6 redshirt freshman. So he tore his ACL last year after only a couple of games. And I don't know what to expect from him this season. Cam Roberts also returns. He's a 6'6 sophomore, played only 8 minutes and sparingly in year 1 in this program. And the rest of the incomers. John Adams is a 6'8 senior from D3 Worcester Polytechnic. 29.5 minutes last season, 14.5 points, 11.5 boards, 2.5 assists, over a steal per game. But again, D3 to the SOCON, one of the better mid-major leagues in the Division I level. It's a gigantic step up, in my opinion. Sola Adebisi comes in from Florida State, didn't play at all last season. Brody Fox from D3 Wisconsin Stout, again, another baller at the D3 level. 31.5 minutes, 26.5 points, 6 boards, 2.5 assists. But I have no idea how that's going to translate into the SOCON. Paxton Davis is a redshirt sophomore, who only played 7.5 minutes last season for Lipscomb. And then Dominic Camiso is a redshirt freshman, didn't play last year for Southeastern Louisiana. He comes in. So this roster is a big hodgepodge. And Cameron Glover, who I was talking about, who I think probably has the best chance to translate in this conference, is still taking a step up from D2 to D1 in one of the better mid-major conferences. Mac, I'm not too high on the Citadel, but I don't have them last.
Well, them and VMI are at such a disadvantage with just their restrictions of the military institution that's associated with going to these places, because they could take a limited amount of transfers, and then of course you got to fulfill your military obligations as well. Beautiful campus, I will say, in Charleston, South Carolina. It's right there, not too far from College of Charleston. But I mean, Ed Conroy, he's won at the Citadel in the past. This is his second stint there. The first stint from 2006 to 2010, they took a big jump from year 2 to year 3. Just like they're headed into year 3 of Conroy. They went from 6 wins to 20 wins. The problem is the SOCON is not as good then as it is now. So I think that's one of the biggest things. I know Steph Curry was in the league at the time, which is ironic, at Davidson. So, but I mean, the depth in coaching and rosters are so much better than it was now. There's just too much roster turnover and uncertainties for me to put them out higher than 9th. I mean, it's them and VMI, unfortunately, with the restrictions, are 1A and 1B for me at the bottom.
Yeah, the SOCON is so deep when it comes to really good programs at the top of this thing compared to in years past. And also, this roster currently at Citadel is not good enough to break through on that night in and night out on a consistent basis like it could have been in years past. So, I think you said it well. But it looks a little like a rough year coming from Ed Conroy and the Citadel guys here. UNC Greensboro is a program that has also been really, really good in the SOCON. Last year they finished tied for second. They were 21-11 overall, 12-6 in conference. They're replacing 3 starters from last year's team coming into this year under Mike Jones. So last year they lose Mikal Brown-Jones, who played 28.5 minutes, 19 points per game, 7.5 boards. He transfers out to Ole Miss. Jalen Gibson also transfers. And Kobe Langley, out of eligibility, played 29 minutes 8.5 points, 3 boards, 5.5 assists, 2.5 steals per game. Did it literally all alongside his brother Keyshawn Langley, who was more of the scorer of the two. 15.5 points, 2.5 boards, 3.5 assists, over a steal per game as well in 30.5 minutes last season. Those two huge losses alongside Tim Caesar, who was out of eligibility. That UNC Greensboro team last year was really good. Coming back, like I said, they returned 2 starters. Donovan Atwell, a 6'5" junior wing, 29 minutes per game, 11 points, 3 rebounds per game, shot at 42% from deep. And then Jalen Breath, who's a 6'8" redshirt junior 5. He played 22 minutes last season, 6.5 points per game, and 6 rebounds per game, shot at 58% from the field. They're looking to replace the other portion of the rotation, whether it be through last season's depth. So you have Joriam Saizanu, who played 20 minutes last season. Akram Ahmed, who is also, so Saizanu is a senior, Ahmed is a grad senior, and then Miles Jones is a grad senior. Both Ahmed and Jones played over 13 minutes a game last season. Or you have Damus Kazonis, who's a 6'10 sophomore, Mon Reth, who's a 6'7 senior, or Mason So, who's a 6'2 sophomore. Or you got this group coming in from the portal that I tend to lean to making more of an impact this season. Kenyon Giles, a 5'9 junior point guard who played 32.5 minutes last season for Radford, 14.5 points per game, 2 boards, 3 assists, over a steal per game. Ronald Polite III comes in from George Mason, played 25 minutes for the Colonels. Actually, not the Colonials. They're the Patriots. I don't know why I said that. Chattanooga's Demetrius Davis transfers in. He's a 6'8 grad senior, played 16 minutes last season. And Malik Henry, a 6'8 grad senior from George Mason. Mac, your thoughts on Greensboro?
I think a little bit of a step back, finishing second and third. They've been right there to get over the hump and get to the dance. Mike Jones, I like him as a coach. He did a good job at Radford for 7-8 years. He's part of the Shaka Smart tree from VCU. So veteran coach. They do lose the 3 starters. I like some of the pieces that they brought in, but I don't think they're as good as that top tier teams this year like they've been in the past. I don't know. Do you kind of agree with that? That maybe they're slightly below that level that they've been at the last couple of years, finishing second and third?
Yes, I think they take a step back this season. Also, just due to the fact that I think some other teams got better from last season, and also you've just got some really good programs in this conference. Like, by virtue of losing 3 starters and a lot of production, I think they're going to fall back to the middle of the pack this season.
That's where I have middle. Good team, though.
100%. And S on Twitter likes Mike Jones as well.
Likes Mike Jones.
Yes, sir. Let's talk about the VMI cadets. Just like the Citadel, a little bit of a tough just kind of job to win it for Andrew Wilson. Last year, they were 1-17 in the SOCON. They finished 10th, aka last, and they went 4-28 overall. And it's going to be another rough year this year. By far, this roster is the youngest in the conference. They only have 2 third-year guys. Everybody else, the rest of the 13 guys on this team, are either in their first or second seasons of college basketball. Mac, your thoughts on Andrew Wilson before I get into this roster that's just really rough on the surface?
Yeah, so I had Wilson on. He comes from the Mark Byington and Leonard Hamilton tree, and he spoke to how you win it at VMI and the Citadel. You have to find a special group, and we're talking about how much younger they are compared to some of these older teams that could take these second and third chance high major transfers into their program. VMI and Citadel, man, they got to find a way to just have everybody grow old together and basically somehow keep them third and fourth year. And then when they're all seniors, they can have a special group. So I'm with you. VMI is going to struggle again this year just because they're younger on the surface.
That's a great way to put it. I see the thought process because, like I said, there's only 2 third-year guys on this roster. Yep. Ricky Bradley Jr.
It's the only way you can do it at one of those places.
Yeah. Ricky Bradley Jr., who's a 6'2 junior point guard, played 11 minutes last season for Georgia State. He transfers in. And then the other third-year guys, TJ Johnson, a redshirt sophomore, a 6'6 forward who comes in from Lipscomb. Honestly, this is a good piece. Shot at 34.5% from three in 11.5 minutes, 4 points per game, 1.5 boards. He's going to be interesting, in my opinion. AJ Clark returns last season. He played 22 and returns from last season. He's a 6'4 sophomore guard who played 22.5 minutes from last year. But yeah, other than that, I mean, Walker Andrews, redshirt freshman, didn't play at all last year. Maurice Wright Jr. is a 6'2 sophomore, only played 13.5 minutes last year. Augustinus Kajulis comes in from Indiana State, who played 3.5 minutes for the Sycamores as a freshman. Robert Peters, a 6'8 sophomore, played 9 minutes. Jaron Morton, a 6'5 sophomore, played 6 minutes for VMI last season. And then incoming freshmen Cal Liston, Linus Holmstrom, Kane Stuckey, and Jalen Pazon. Just really tough on the surface for this roster. So, or for the program. So hopefully they can grow together and not lose the core that is obviously being trying to build here at VMI, which is tough because I mean we saw it with Petritus at Air Force. There's always like one guy that's gonna stick out, just be like the volume player for them, lead the team in points, and it's really kind of all they look at in the portal. They're gonna jump, and it's gonna be really tough. So either way, I don't see any sort of like light at the end of the season for VMI. I think it's going to be a really rough year. Western Carolina is next for us, though. And last year was a really good year for this program, one of their better ones in recent years. 22-10 overall for the Catamounts, 11-7 in conference. They finished 4th in the SOCON. But they have a new head coach now. New era in the Cullowhee. Tim Kraft is the new head honcho at Western Carolina. Kraft spent 11 seasons as the head coach at Gardner-Webb. And he averaged just over 17 wins per season with the running Bulldogs. But I mean, he met with the team. He's got no team here at Western Carolina. The one returner is Bernard Pelote, who is a 6'8 senior, played 20.5 minutes last season, 6.5 points per game, 4.5 boards. But Mac, your thoughts on the Tim Kraft hire, because I know you and Colby have been relatively high on the Running Bulldogs program lately.
Yeah, I like the Kraft hire. I thought he did overall a really good job at Gardner-Webb. I mean, they were a model of consistency. Seems like they were always in that top 3, top 4 year in and year out in the Big South. Now he makes a jump over to Western Carolina. They do not bring back basically anybody because Gray goes over to Coastal Carolina. So I think a little bit of a rebuild here in year number 1. But I mean, I think they got a consistent winner there. I mean, every year at Gardner-Webb outside of the COVID year, he had a winning season. So I think the program's in good hands. Western Carolina took a jump last year, a little bit of a step back, but I think they got the right guy to lead the program.
Yeah, I think this is a rebuild that's going to take a little bit of time. He brings in some younger pieces, some junior college pieces. This is definitely not like a win right away approach through the transfer portal. Let's go through it. Vernon Collins comes in from Princeton. He's one of the Princeton big men that kind of gets scattered after they don't really play too much in the portal, and they're kind of like gold. He's a 6'10 junior, played only 3.5 minutes last season, but he's an interesting gamble alongside Cord Stansberry from Pepperdine, a redshirt sophomore, played 12 minutes last season for the Waves. He's a 6'3 guard. From Marshall is Chase McKee, a redshirt junior, 6'10 forward who played 8 minutes a game. A 3-star, original 3-star recruit via 24/7 back in 2023, Brandon White, a 6'10, 5 that who committed to Texas A&M, didn't play at all, redshirted, and hit the transfer portal. So he comes in to Western Carolina alongside a couple of junior college pieces. Brandon Morgan, who played at Caldwell Tech last season, 15.5 points per game, 5 boards, 5 assists per game. He's going to be the point guard this year. Then you got Chevalier Emery. He goes by Ice. This guy's kind of sick. 17.5 points per game, 2 assists, 1.5 boards at Dodge City Junior College. He started his college career at Merrimack his freshman year. So interesting piece there. Definitely sick name in Chevalier, but going by Ice, that's great. And then also Jamar Livingston, a 6'4" sophomore guard from Walter State Junior College, 11.5 points per game, 3.5 boards, 1.5 assists. Mac, just your outlook here, Western Carolina. I think, like I said, the approach through the transfer portal, at least in my opinion, from Kraft, is not more of a win now. It's a build, and we'll try to sustain something here in Cullowhee. Your thoughts?
That's the way I took it. I think it'll take a minute. Another team, maybe they get better and better throughout the year. Them and Mercer. I think they get better. I think guys like Stansbury, Emery, Morgan. I think it takes a minute to gel playing with one another for the first time. So we'll see Kraft how he molds this team together come February. Definitely a team in November and December that we just want to see.
There's our good friend Weehawk
There he is,
tuning into the YouTube chat for his Western Carolina team preview. There we go. There's our thoughts. A little bit of a rough building here, but they'll get there under Tim Kraft for sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about one of my honestly, like, I liked Wofford before. Everybody knows what happens. For those that don't, my prom date transferred to Wofford. Her ex-boyfriend now was on the Wofford basketball team. Then he transferred to Charleston, who then finished his career by fouling with a half second left to help us cover a spread. Just absolutely incredible. It was a total character turn for all of us who had San Diego State -5.5 in the NCAA tournament 2 years ago. Wofford under Dwight Perry went 17-15 overall last season, 10-8 in conference, tied for 5th in the SOCON. And Wofford has the second most experienced roster via Torvik, and they returned 87% of their minutes from last year, which is by far the most in the SOCON this season. And Corey Tripp's the biggest impact player that returns in the conference. 30.5 minutes last season. He's a 6'3" senior point guard. He 15.5 points per game, 4.5 boards, 3.5 assists. Shot at 43% from the field. And he's surrounded by a lot of guys that return. Chase Cormier played 20 minutes per game last season. Shot at 50% from 3 when he was on the floor, 48.5% from the field. He put up 7 points per game. Dylan Bailey, a 6'3" senior guard who played 27.5 minutes. He had 12 points per game, 2.5 boards, 1.5 assists. Shot at 35.5% from deep, 42.5% from the field. Jackson Civilis, who's a 6'6" senior guard, 24.5 minutes, 9.5 points per game, 5 boards, 1.5 assists per game, 47% from the field, 38.5% from deep. And then Kyler Filevich, a 6'9" senior 5 who played 26.5 minutes last season, 9.5 points, 9 boards, 3.5 assists, shot at 56.5% from the field. Jeremy Lorenz played 20.5 minutes last season as a 6'8" sophomore forward. Anthony Arrington Jr., who was a 6'2" junior guard, played 18 minutes last season, shot at 40.5% from 3. Bilal Ashakari, who is a 6'8" sophomore forward, played 12.5 minutes last season. They bring in one transfer, Justin Bailey from USC Upstate, played 29 minutes for the Spartans last season, 12 points, 3.5 rebounds per game. He's a 6'3" guard. Mac, this is one of the deeper teams in the SOCON. The only issue is that they don't play defense.
Yeah. So a lot of people have deemed this as kind of their sleeper. So I'm interested to see Dwight Perry.
It's obvious they bring back everybody. So, sure.
I know, and they finished 5th back-to-back years. So can they take the step here? And we'll see with Dwight Perry. They bring back all that experience, got some momentum. 86% of your returning production. You would think they would take a step forward. I'm interested. I don't know if I'm ready to crown them in the top 4, but I think that they're definitely an intriguing team with all this experience. You mentioned it. Offensively, they got guys that can score. Defensively, though, it's a question: can they get more consistent and buy in as a team to win games? Because defense wins in this league.
100%, because everybody can play offense in this league.
Yep.
Speaking of everybody, let's get to ranking all of those teams. We're going to start at 10, go all the way down to 1. Then we're going to predict our conference tournament winner, and then our sleeper and bust compared to the media poll that we'll talk on after we give out our rankings. Mac, at 10, do you have VMI?
Yeah, and then do you have Citadel at 9?
Yes, I do. And then do you have – actually, I don't know if it's next. The next one's too obvious. 8. I think it's one of 2 teams.
I have Western Carolina, the Catamounts.
That's who I have at 8. And then 7, do you have Mercer?
Yep.
All right. And then this is where it is really fun. I have UNC Greensboro 6.
I have Greensboro 6 as well. And then I'll get right into it. At the 5 spot, I got Wofford, third straight year finishing 5th. I said maybe, but I don't know. I need to see it. I'm not ready to crown them. I like these other 4 teams better than Wofford.
I think the top 5 teams all compete for a title. I think they're all really, really even. I think all 5 of these teams are within 2 games of each other at the top of these standings. I have Furman 5th.
Ooh, okay. At number 4, I have Samford and Buckyball. Slight step back in the 4th spot. I want to see them buy into their new roles.
I have Wofford 4th.
Okay. At number 3, this is where I have Coach Dan Earl and the Chattanooga Mocs.
Okay. 3, I have Samford for similar reasons as what you said.
Okay. At 2, I have the Buccaneers of East Tennessee State.
I have East Tennessee State second.
Big jump, baby. Yep. Who'd you have second?
Yep, I got the Bucks. I got the Bucks second too.
Love it. And then at number 1,
you
got the Paladins. Oh yeah, Furman, baby. Let's go. Bounce back year. They're flying under the radar. Everybody's crowning these other teams. Furman, Bob Richey gets it done. Let's go.
Interesting. I am going to go with Chattanooga. I really like the build of this roster. I think it makes total sense, and I think they're going to have a really good year. Chattanooga wins the SOCON. Mac, who do you have winning the conference tournament?
I have the Buccaneers of East Tennessee State. They lost in a tough one in the finals last year. They remember that. They come back. They get to the championship game, and they win it this time around. So give me the Buccaneers.
I'm going to go with Wofford. All the experience on this team. They got blown out in their one tournament game last year. I think that they're gonna enter this thing like one last year with this group. They've got like 6 seniors. I think they go out on top in the SOCON. They go into the NCAA tournament.
I like it.
Sleeper and bust predictions. Of course, we do these things kind of based off of the SOCON media poll. We do it off the media polls in general on all these conference previews. The media poll: Samford 1, Chattanooga 2, East Tennessee State 3rd, Wofford 4th, Furman 5th, Greensboro 6th, Mercer 7th, Western Carolina 8th, the Citadel 9th, and VMI 10th. Mac, your sleeper is Furman.
Oh yeah, Bob Richey, baby. You're sleeping on the Paladins.
And shoot, I was pretty chalky.
Other than that, I was pretty chalky. I think I was one off on everybody compared to what the poll was outside of Furman.
I was one off of everybody. So my bust is Samford, by the way, because they were picked first. I have them 3rd. That's the only one that I was like off by more than 1. So I'll just say my sleeper, the team that I think not as many people are expecting to do what I think they're going to do is Chattanooga. I think they win the league.
Okay. Is my bust Samford? at 4.
Yeah, you can pick Samford too.
I basically had Furman and just Samford switching spots from last year.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even look at this media poll before I even created my rankings, but yeah. So sleeper and bust, there you have them. This was a great conference preview. Flew by. It was so much fun. I know these teams a lot, like the back of my hand. Great stuff. If you're looking to follow my buddy here, Ryan McIntyre, you can do so on Twitter at moneyline_Mac. If you're looking to follow myself, Noah Bieniek on Twitter, you can do so at NoahB77_. If you're looking to follow the show on Twitter, it's TCE on SGPN, TikTok, Instagram as well. Not as prevalent on those two accounts, but we certainly try our best at sometimes providing good content on those platforms. But this has been the college basketball experience. We've only got 2 more conference previews to do. We got one more tonight. We're doing a doubleheader. And then tomorrow we're going to preview the Atlantic 10. That's our last conference preview that we're going to do. Friday, preseason predictions episode that we're going to do. Kind of our Final Four predictions, Elite 8 predictions, favorite conference futures for the regular season. None of us really get too aggressive with tying our money up for like 5 months, but we're going to give out some. And then max top 25 rankings. I might have a bracketology ready. I don't know. Preseason bracketology. So all of that during the preseason predictions episode that we specialize in. This has been a fun episode. This has been the college basketball experience. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.